Okay, and welcome to another shootout. This one is between, it's another one for the Asus Rog Ally, which is on the bottom there, and it's against a Mac Mini M2 with 8GB of RAM. So it's going to be interesting to see how the M2 fares. The last one was pretty much a draw between, I think it was a MacBook Air M1 with 8GB of RAM. We don't want that, do we? Oh, no. So without further ado, let's get stuck in, let's start it off, and I'll start reading out the percentages. Now, these percentages, I should explain probably with every video, are ImageLine, who are the makers of FL Studio. It's their view on the amount of processor performance expressed as a percentage. So it's quite handy to pin one against the other, and it's specific in terms of what it's saying to us. It's specific to FL Studio, so we shouldn't take this as a measure of whether one machine is better than the other, because this is very specific to FL Studio, and it's aimed at FL Studio users to try and help them decide what the next bit of hardware is going to be. At least that's the idea, that's how it got started. Anyway, I'm starting to blabber as I normally do, so let's kick these off and try and get them in synchronized. Okay, so off the blocks we've got 23 for the Ally versus 21 for the Mac Mini M2. I'm just going to turn the volume down on the Mac Mini. Now looking at 21 for the Ally versus 21 for the Mac Mini M2, so even Stevens at this point in time. 2019 now against 21 for the Mac Mini M2. So pretty much, as I say, even Stevens. Interestingly, it's telling us that the Mac Mini M2 is having to work a little bit harder, but there's very little in it. This next segment now is a bit faster and puts a bit more put a bit more weight on the processor requirement. So we're now looking at 24 versus 26. The first reading I'll give you will always be the Ally. The second one will be the Mac Mini. And you can hear they're gone slightly out of sync, which happens sometimes, but let's not worry too much about that. Let's turn that one down a bit, because they're more or less in the same place. So we're now looking at 29 for the Ally versus 31 for the Mac Mini. So the Mac Mini had to work slightly harder. Interesting, because I thought with the M2 processor and a similar spec to the MacBook Air, which we tested the other day, I thought the Mac Mini M2 would pull ahead. At this stage, it's still 37 now for the Ally versus 32 for the Mac Mini. So yeah, the Mac Mini not having to work as hard at this point in the game. 34 versus 31. So again, the Mac Mini not having to work as hard, ahead if you like. 33 versus 32. 33. So pretty much even Stevens. Mac Mini may be slightly further ahead in terms of requiring slightly less processing power, but there's not much in it again, which is surprising actually. Anyway, let's stop them there. I think we've probably got what we needed, and I'm going to declare it a draw. Let's just stop that one. So interesting. As I say, I'm a little surprised because I thought the M2 in the Mac Mini would perform better with FL Studio based on the previous results from the MacBook Air M1. But you know, I'm just being honest. This is what's coming out. They're both running the latest versions of the software, the same version of FL Studio. The Rog Ally is the latest version of Windows 11, and the Mac Mini is the latest version of Mac OS, which is Solari or something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's call it a day there. If you enjoyed this, give it a like. If you want to see more performance videos like this, then subscribe. Thanks very much for your time. we'll call it a day there.